Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now August 12th of 2023, and given that we are getting closer to other Disney projects from releasing to see exactly where they're going to stand, whether they be successful or a failure, is going to be a very big, interesting topic. We have things like Ahsoka, The Marvels, Wish, and Snow White, just to name a few on the horizon. But what's really interesting is exactly what Bob Iger was able to talk about when it comes to the whole DEI backlash, and how he recently broke silence on everything happening with the general public, specifically going against Bob Iger and the board of directors' plan to insert DEI to a new level. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the main subject, shall we? Now, one thing about Disney that really has been unraveling at this time is how basically there's been a lot of big problems arising, not just with their upcoming movies, with their constant box office failures in a row, but also with Disney Plus having a lot of subscriber loss, at least for North America, and how they are embracing more subscribers to actually unsubscribe after, 2023 comes to a close. Now, Bob Iger kind of opened up his fear of that happening and how they are anticipating that to actually happen, and they have contingency plans in place on if that point does actually reach a new level for them to deal with. But what's interesting here is exactly what Bob Iger had to say about the DEI backlash. Now, of course, we know that a lot of people reject DEI into all the movies and the Star Wars shows, the Marvel shows, whatever it may be. However, with Bob Iger getting very defensive lately over his role as CEO at Disney, he recently broke silence on his views of the current DEI backlash that has been ongoing as a thing that they have been dealing with. Iger delivered the following. One of the big improvements here at Disney that we are focused on is to increase in our ability to add in wide examples of diversity and equality into our projects. I would be lying if we didn't notice a backlash from our means to obtain these achievements, and it's quite honestly so unprofessional in my perspective to see so many people out there in general withdrawing and rejecting these goals. I think it just shows us all the work that needs to be done with making diversity and equality more acceptable in our arts and at the forefront. Those who wish to withdraw or reject our plans to obtain those views into our films and shows, I think, is the major problem with our world today that needs fixing. I and many of those on the board agree that this is something that needs to be our focus in entertainment, whether it be our movies, shows, and even for our parks. It should be our priority, and it will be for the years to come. Now, let me just pause here for one moment, because we have more to talk about, because Bob Iger does continue. This just goes to show you that they don't care about us, they don't care about you, they only care about themselves and throwing in these nonsense agendas into these upcoming movies, TV shows, the Disney parks, etc. This is why I keep bringing this up, that I heavily do believe that Universal, without a doubt, is going to take over on all levels. Movies, TV shows, parks. I think that Epic Universe, the new theme park that's going to open in 2025, I believe around the summer, it's going to take a lot of attendees away from Disney World, and there's no doubt about that. We're seeing less and less people attending the park over time, and how people are deciding to be very careful with their money nowadays. It's true. Disney is a very expensive place to go to. There's no denying this. A whole lot more expensive than that of Universal. And what's interesting here is how Bob Iger is admitting that they are doubling down on the whole DEI nonsense, regardless of what's going on with the whole DEI situation right now, and how Disney got in a bit of a trouble with that. We'll talk about that later in the week. But what's even all the more concerning is how we talked about this in the last post, about how a lot of the live-action remakes are going to take advantage of DEI and throwing it in there. This ranges from live-action adaptations of Sword in the Stone to the Aristocats to also, of course, other examples like Hercules. It doesn't stop there, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. Bob Iger is a very bad CEO. He needs to go. And I always like to call him Bob Liger. This man lies through his teeth every single day that he opens his mouth, and it just does not stop. So, moving onwards, he goes on to elaborate further. We have and hold no intentions to withdraw from said plans to making this a reality. We have been making progress of including this in with some of our Star Wars and Marvel projects, and it does get quite offensive to see so many individuals out there in the world that are against diversity and equality to be the focus of these said stories. This doesn't mean that we are engaging in any culture wars or diverting from the stories or character development in these projects, but rather a way to enhance them and make them more relatable to everyone around the world. It's good for business and it's good for the people, and so I don't understand why we live in a world with such great issues of resentment toward these goals that we have in mind. We are going to have a great strategy of making this happen for the years to come here at Disney. Let me just say one thing about Bob Iger. Does he not sound like he's coming across as like a dictator almost? I certainly do, and I don't know about you, but it really comes across as very narcissistic, very much controlling, and how he really just is lying again. This is literally the prime example of creating a culture war, as much as he wants to deny that. And not just that, it most certainly takes away from the story's plot and character development. He single-handedly just admitted that it's all about focusing and making this the priority. And that's why a lot of movies nowadays are just trash, let's be honest here. They don't focus on story, they don't focus on character development. They would rather focus on DEI nonsense. This is exactly why I believe everything ranging from Alien to all of the other franchises and or properties that Disney now owns is going to continue to fall apart, and it will fall apart further. Whether it be live action remakes, The Simpsons, Alien, even the Predator franchise is falling apart. You know, we know that there's a lot of things coming out of this because Disney wants to just keep obtaining every single franchise that they can get their hands on and just throwing in their nonsense agendas. This is why I am rooting for Universal to kind of really make a shift and kind of create that turning of the tide. Everything happening with them trying to, you know, create this Nintendo universe, how they want to create their own princesses to combat against the Disney princesses. You know, you got people like Princess Peach, etc., etc. But interestingly enough, the parks, I believe, are going to dominate Universal, of course, wise, over Disney in the next couple of years. There's no doubt about this. I already know a lot of people in my social circle and their social circles that are saying they're not going to Disney anymore. I don't know about you guys. Would love to hear from you guys in the comments. But anyway, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. And I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.